Whoa.
Uh-oh. Late night recording.
Hello, welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hey. Okay, we just got finished watching, and we should say this is special because we're together.
Yes.
We're all back together again. Mm-hmm. So we just finished watching the 2013 movie, The Conjuring.
Oh, that was something.
I know, every time. So the movie is about this family that moves into not a farmhouse, but like a country house.
Country home.
And like little things start happening, like the clocks stop at 3:07, or it gets cold, or the air smells. Mm-hmm. And it just gets progressively worse, and they know they need help. So they go and visit the duo. What's their name?
Warrens.
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yes. And ask them for help because that couple are paranormal investigators and demonologists and demonologists.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So at first they weren't going to take the case on, but they decide that they will. So they go back to the farmhouse to see what's going on. They bring some support, a camera guy, a police officer, mm-hmm. and they realize instantly that there is something very serious happening at this house. So they take on the case, and that's what this movie is about.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this is the first movie in the Conjuring extended universe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even know how many movies there are.
I think
they
so many.
went on to create, there's The Conjuring, there's sequels. I don't know how many sequels. There's at least The Conjuring 2.
There's at least 2 that I know of.
And yeah, there is one that just came out, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. That was in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. And then there was the Amityville Horror. Mm-hmm. There was Annabelle. Mm-hmm. Which had a lot. So this really set off a whole universe of horror movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And what a strong start.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll discuss when we get into it a little bit more, but it's because there can be this whole universe of movies because they're all real cases that the real Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's
actually based on true events.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a cool, interesting way to do this, where it's like it's not just like a typical family moves into house, spooky things start happening, mm-hmm. let's get to the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. Like having the Warrens story be intertwined with it, mm-hmm. I feel like is kind of an interesting way to do it, mm-hmm. you know, because then it feels a little different from the usual.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, we got the pros in here, they bring a cop, they bring the videographer, they you know, they have a whole setup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I feel like they do a good job of saying too that they say most of the time these hauntings are not real.
Yeah.
So like again, they kind of make it seem just mm-hmm. a different perspective.
Right. Like
mm-hmm.
to be considered one of their cases, you have to be very like researched, mm-hmm. checked out, and real in air quotes. Like you have to be the real deal for them to like consider you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's I don't think it's any of our first time watching the movie. Do you remember your first time?
Yes.
I don't remember specifically, but I do remember that this movie really scared me.
Mm-hmm.
It scared me again tonight.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really freaking scary movie. Mm-hmm. Like it's a good story mm-hmm. and a lot of jump scares. And so I don't remember the specific time, but I just remember the first time after seeing this, like mind blown. Like, my gosh, what did I just watch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, yeah, same. I don't remember when I know I've watched it before, but it had been long enough that
mm-hmm.
I honestly don't really remember any of it. So scary again.
Mm-hmm. I remember my first time because like it came out in 2013 and that mm-hmm. was a time when like I feel like you know I don't know the word for it, but like the digital effects that movies could do mm-hmm. were getting like even more extreme what they could do, and I feel like movies really like took that on. So like a lot of effects I was like, that looks so fake, or that's so cheesy, like mm-hmm. it's obviously not real. But I feel like the thing with this movie's effects is like less is more.
Yes.
And they actually mm-hmm. only show you very small moments
mm-hmm.
of you know the ghosts and
mm-hmm.
the devilish things happening. So I think that made it more effective because you know it felt real.
Yeah.
Like this could be it.
And I feel like when they did it, that was one thing I wrote down. Like, I feel like the effects were really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they didn't need to do many of them, but when they did them,
They did them.
they did, like, the quality was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
No,
looked
it was
real. They looked
It was good.
horrifying.
Agreed. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I feel like we should just start right at the beginning.
Let's start.
Because we start not with the family that we will be with for most of the movie. We start with Annabelle.
Yes.
Which
I
yeah.
had totally forgotten that
Yeah.
that was how this movie started.
No, I totally forgot how important Annabelle kind of is. Because she's
Uh-huh.
like very reoccurring throughout
Right.
the whole movie. Like, it's not
Just
she does become part of the haunting a little bit,
Mhm.
but like I kind of forgot how much of a role she plays in this.
Yeah. Me too.
Well, and I think that was done probably purposefully
Mhm.
because I'll just say now, I did a little bit of a deep dive into Ed and Lorraine Warren, the actual
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
I may or may not be now a contributing member of their society.
Mhm.
So they have this, it's the New England Society for Psychic Research.
Oh.
NESPR is what
okay.
they founded. They founded it in it's like the 50s or something, but it's still an ongoing website, and it has all their case files.
Oh.
And so you can kind of look through the history of their case files. And Annabelle, the actual case, happened in 1970, whereas this movie's case happened in 1971.
Mhm.
So in real life, Annabelle would have happened before this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're kind of going like chronologically
Mhm.
with their like career and story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it starts with them, and it goes through how Annabelle came to them, the couple, that it was these two young girls living together, and Annabelle kind of entered their life because they gave it permission
Yeah.
to be a spirit, which
Mhm.
was their first and major mistake.
No. Yeah. It's never an innocent soul who just wants to be your friend.
Right. Yeah, and they like make it very clear that it actually wasn't a possession. It was what did they call it? The conduit?
It's not a ghost. It was a demonic presence.
Okay, and yeah, it wasn't that Annabelle was possessed, but she was the conduit.
And they explain that she's a conduit for, like I said, not a ghost, which a ghost is a person who used to be alive and is now dead. But Annabelle's a conduit for an inhuman spirit.
Mhm.
So basically this entity that never was a human.
Yeah, was just demonic.
Now, have you guys seen the real Annabelle doll?
No.
Okay, the real Annabelle doll is like a rag doll.
It is a rag doll.
Yes. So it doesn't really look like what they did in the movie, but I'm not gonna lie, it's way spookier what they did in the movie.
Very effective.
Like the porcelain doll, with the glass eyes. I'm okay with the creative direction.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And she's so big for a doll that it feels wrong. Like it's too big to actually be a doll.
Yeah, like almost child size.
Yeah. So Annabelle, she is just tormenting the girls, and they decide they've had enough. They can't take that she just pops up places.
Yeah.
When they, they'll leave her in the bedroom and she pops up in the hall. So they throw her away. But then they come home one night and they see this little note written in red crayon. And it says, "Miss me?"
With a bunch of knocking.
And there's all this knocking going on. And then they come in and it's like what I'm sure any parent could imagine happening if you leave your toddler alone in a room with a crayon. For 5 minutes, just scribbles all over. All over the walls, all over the ceiling, the floor, everything.
There's like a TV on, and it's got the
static
happening, and it's just flashing light. Yeah. So yeah, they don't show what they did, but they were able to get Annabelle and kind of stop the chaos for the girls. And they take Annabelle back to their house where they have a room of all of their not antiques, but all of the things that they took from one of their cases.
Yeah.
So they've got all the things that were haunted and have them there. And he's doing an interview with this guy, and the guy is like, "Well, why don't you burn them? Why don't you ruin these artifacts?" And he's like, well, because sometimes it's better to leave a genie in the bottle. Like
because it's trapped.
It's trapped, and we just have it secured here in a safe place.
Yeah. Which I disagree. Not you don't have to destroy it. I get the genie in a bottle, but why would you keep that in your house?
That's one of the only notes that I took during this is I was like, why would you have that room in your home with your child?
Well, so that's real.
Oh.
So they actually had an occult museum, which they ran out of the back of their house.
No.
So people could come and could see Annabelle and other artifacts from all of their hauntings that they, you know, collected along the way.
Yeah.
So I'll get into later a bit of the conspiracy behind the Warrens.
Okay.
But kind of a money-making thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's totally fair. But I feel like they could afford a storefront.
That's what I thought.
Right.
It's all
Keep it separate.
If I was a child in that house, I would touch everything.
I know.
I would invite all my friends and we would all touch everything.
Right.
I just
Well, and apparently the real daughter of the Warrens, she also alleges to be clairvoyant, like her mom.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into in a little bit. But she says that she doesn't do a lot of what her mom would do and go and help with the possessions because she was like traumatized as a kid.
I bet.
From all of these terrifying stories from her parents.
I bet.
Yeah.
So,
I
know we weren't mainly focused on them, but I'm jumping straight to the end, basically. But when Judy, who's their daughter's name, is getting attacked by Annabelle,
right?
You know, her parents get home and everything, and she's like, "Oh, like someone was holding Annabelle," and I was like, "Wait, she knows Annabelle, so she knows all their stories."
That's what I thought when she named the doll.
Yeah,
I was like, "Why does she even know who Annabelle is?"
Ugh. I don't know her story in real life, but it was like, wait, no, you people traumatized.
So she knew what they were doing with Scarab. Yep.
No,
too much.
That's all right. Her husband runs the society now, so it's fine.
Okay.
Nice. You're doing well.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, sorry. We can get back to the actual movie. It's just like it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole universe again that we get from this whole movie, so there's so much to talk about.
Right.
But maybe we should get to the family now.
Yes.
Because now we get to like a more typical horror movie.
Yeah, because we're introduced to this family and they seem very like wholesome and happy and 70s vibing. They're just loving life.
The 70s vibe was amazing with the music and the attire.
Yes.
It was incredible.
So yeah, the mom and dad have moved the family into this country home, and it's a good, it's a really good move for them. Like this is an improvement to their family to be moving here.
Happy.
They're so happy. They have 5 girls.
Yeah. 4 or 5?
There's so many.
And
they're always running around.
Yeah, I feel like it's 5.
I think 5.
There's one that's like an older teenager.
Their family of 7.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's from the oldest teenager to the youngest daughter. That daughter is probably like 5. And things are going really well. There's been a few quirky things they've noticed, like the clocks. They were like, "Oh, that's weird."
And the things were going well. It seemed like really happy, with the one exception. The dog Sadie.
Oh,
everyone is so happy to
I think I've blacked that out.
Yeah.
And I will say there's a trigger warning. Because normally we will refuse to watch any movie where an animal dies. But Sadie, as the whole family's happy moving into that home, Sadie the dog is like, no.
Yeah, she will not go in the house.
She won't go in. And then dogs always know.
One night.
I know, one night.
Yep. She because she won't come inside. Like they, the dad is like a good dad. He makes sure she's safe. But he's like, I made sure she's chained up so she can't, play. But they find her deceased the next day.
Yeah.
Which is horrible.
This movie really does, like, honestly, there's not as much of a ramp up.
Right.
As like what we're used to. I mean, they start us with Annabelle, so they already start kind of scared.
Yeah.
But then even with the family, it's like you almost expect it to do the typical, very, very slow ramp up.
And this was pretty fast.
It's fast.
It's fast.
It is.
Fast.
It is.
Once it starts, it goes quick. It goes quick.
Yeah, I did not take many notes during this movie. The one that I did was always trust the dog.
Always trust the dog.
Yeah.
You should just always trust the dog.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, you mentioned the music in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember where it was, but at one point in the movie, we try not to talk when we're watching movies together because we were trying to save it for the podcast. But at one point, I did turn to you guys to ask if you knew the song that was playing.
And I didn't.
Yes.
But Laura, you do?
I don't remember the name of it, but I remember, or I know that I learned about the history of this song this year randomly.
Oh.
Like it's well, you can tell.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Okay, one of the songs that was playing was from Ryan Gosling's Spooky Band.
Oh, that's right.
The name of their band is Dead Man's Bones, and the song that they were playing was In the Room Where You Sleep. This was pretty early on in the movie. I think it's when everything is like they're setting everything up.
Yes.
Or maybe it's when they're setting up the cameras. It's like a little more like upbeat, but definitely a little spooky. Yeah, Ryan Gosling started a spooky little band a while ago.
This is brand new information. I have never heard about this.
Yeah,
that's right. I think I was confusing it with another song, but yes, absolutely. That's what it was.
Oh my gosh.
And I never knew it either. And our friend who supports our podcast but hates scary movies, so she'll never watch scary movies. She actually like sent me several of Ryan Gosling's bands, like music, like.
Okay, I'm gonna have to deep dive in.
No, it's so good. You have to watch the video. It's
you do. You have to watch the videos.
Okay.
Honestly, it's kind of like heartwarming because he has a lot of like children in the movie, and it's all like really cute though.
Right.
And he did this after The Notebook. This was post Notebook fame that he was like, all right, I'm gonna go start the spooky little band.
I love this. Okay.
It's so good. It's honestly if anyone out there hasn't heard it, it is the perfect like play it during a Halloween party background music because it's like a little upbeat, like a little spooky. Would recommend.
This is exciting.
Ryan Gosling's.
This is really exciting.
Good. Like it's pretty good. Even if you didn't know that it was Ryan Gosling, you would like it. It's really good. Yeah.
Love this.
So amazing.
Oh my gosh.
So amazing. But yeah, so there's things start to happen.
Yeah, and we won't like talk about all of them, but like, you know, some of the main ones are like they notice this smell a lot occasionally where it smells like rotting meat.
Rotting meat.
Yeah.
Like you said, the clock stopped. The one daughter sleeps with her feet out of the covers and she keeps feeling like her sister is grabbing her foot.
Yeah.
One of the girls is sleepwalking and keeps walking towards this very creepy looking wardrobe and pounding her head against it.
Yep.
And then the youngest makes a new friend.
Yes, the youngest makes a new friend. She has
Rory.
this little toy box where it's like it's kind of like a Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
You open it up and there's this mirror with like this swirl on it, and you turn the key and the little clown in it pops up as it plays the music.
Nope.
And when the music stops, that's when the little girl can see Rory and the reflection.
Say the design of that toy. I don't know if that was real at all, but the design of that toy.
Very well done because it's terrifying.
It was so creepy.
Oh, and then another game that the girls love to play that we have to talk about is hide and clap.
You guys, we have to play.
Yeah, I think we have to play.
We have.
One of us will die falling down the stairs, but I think it's fine.
We don't play in my house. We could like play outside. Like,
outside.
Yeah, in the street it's safer.
Street would be fine.
But it's like hide and seek, except for the person that's seeking has a blindfold on, and then the people there that are hiding, they get 3 times where they have to clap. So the seeker gets to decide. They'll say, okay, first clap, second clap, third clap. And follow.
That's kind of like a hide and seek Marco Polo. Like combo.
Yep.
But that is just the perfect setup for a horror movie.
Oh, it's so good.
The tension is palpable.
Yeah. And you know a clap is going to come from somewhere you don't expect it to. Like it is. That was chef's kiss. That was so good.
So yeah, the littlest girl is playing with her mom, and the mom thinks that she's getting close, and she says, "Okay, third clap." And from the wardrobe, because that's the room the mom is in, you see 2 little hands reach out and do their little. And just when that happens, the daughter runs into the room, being like, "Hi, I won!" And so it's like, well, shit, she wasn't in the wardrobe. Who was in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite scenes, and that I think I didn't move during the scene, is the girl, I forget the character's name, but it's Joey King's character.
Yeah.
Because she shares a room with her sister, and we talked about she gets her leg pulled on, and it happens again, but this time she wakes up, and it's I swear this scene took forever in like the best way, because it just kept building and building and building. But the way that she like is describing what she's saying, because she is like so scared, like she plays scared.
Yeah, she's like frozen in her fear, but trying to like,
and he's just pointing into this dark corner where it's like, no, someone is there. Like, how do you not see who's there? And she's waking up her sister. Like, I was like, I think I like still held my breath.
Same.
Same. Well, because who of us has not, as a child, had those moments where you see something scary in your room or just outside of your room or something, and that's what you do. Like, you sit up in the bed, you can't go over the edges because the thing will pop out from outside the edges, and it's a mix of needing to call for help but also needing to be silent and still, and it was so horrifying.
And she checks under her bed first. Checks like it. It built it up so well.
Tension is
so it's funny because like I used to get sleep terrors as like a teenager, and those are like more than like nightmares, because like they feel like you actually physically react. Like in your sleep, you'll like reach out or you'll move, and I have a closet in my bedroom that's like directly parallel to my bed, and like, if the door is open at all, like a cracked, like I can't have it open at all, because I'm like, I told my husband, I was like, if you leave that open, like someone will be there in the middle of the night. And he was like, excuse me?
It's true.
It's true.
It's just an actual fact.
Yeah, like my mind will put someone there.
Yes. I can't do it.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, the movie it captured all of the like your childhood fears, basically.
And I actually really like that we don't see what she's seeing behind the door. We just see black, like and her sister can't see it either. So like, you know, she's trying to tell her sister about what's there, and
and after a while, when the parents come to help, we then get a flash of the demon.
Yes,
but for so much of it, we don't see it, and it's just so scary. It's so unbelievable.
So I feel like we start getting the build up again. I feel like pretty quickly, and then we kind of just get to like one night where it is just like absolute chaos.
The dad is gone. Because he's a truck driver, so he's on a route.
So just remember what's happening to everyone. So we have Mom, who keeps hearing something and ends up in the basement.
Well, and we should say too, Mom has had little things happening.
Yes.
Mom keeps getting these bruises.
Yes.
And it almost, it almost seems like, domestic abuse type of situation. But the dad is so sweet. He's like, please go to a doctor. Like, why are you getting bruises like this? And so something's going on with Mom, clearly, but we don't know what yet.
Yeah, and then we don't see her go to the doctor, but we do get her saying like, it's like an iron deficiency.
Yeah, she's like taking
so she's taking vitamins.
After her husband had been like, please go to the doctor.
So it's like,
assume that's what the doctor explained. Like, you just
need iron.
So this night she ends up in the cellar, which was my first mistake. Like, why she went into the cellar, I can't tell you. But she realizes that like something really wrong is happening. So she tries to run up the stairs, and the light explodes. The light bulb explodes, and she's stuck in the cellar. So and the door can't open now. So she's trying to she's banging on the door like, help me.
Is it like slammed?
Yeah, slammed. So she's stuck in there in total blackness.
Yes. And then at the same time upstairs we get the girl who had been sleepwalking again. And I guess we forgot to mention it. She's sleepwalking into her older sister's room, towards the wardrobe.
Right.
And so her sister wakes up and she's like, okay, just come sleep in my bed. Like, just kind of guides her, because they've been trying not to wake her up. Guides her into bed. And she's the older sister's checking out the wardrobe because it keeps knocking even after she's gone.
Yes.
And then we see the little sister wake up
with her eyes
wide open, sit up, like she can see something. And we turn and again just flash of the demon that has been haunting them just like crouched
Yes.
on top of the wardrobe and then jumps
onto the sister.
the older sister.
It's too much. I can't.
Yeah, so that's happening. And then, like, the other girls in the other room are now running in there because they hear it. So they're all screaming, trying to save their sister because she's being, like, moved around the room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You like, at this point, there's no doubt that this is a possession, exorcism type thing, because it's not just like the things that you could maybe explain away. It's like she's literally being flung across by an invisible force.
Yeah. At this point, Dad gets home.
Yeah.
To just like the most chaotic scene ever.
Imagine, poor guy.
I know.
Like, what the heck?
What is happening?
I know.
What's going on?
Yes. I know. So yeah, then it cuts to Ed and Lorraine giving a lecture to a group again, and we see that the mom is one of the audience members, and she follows them out, and she says like, "Hey, I need your help."
Yeah.
And at first they're like, "No," but she kind of pulls on Lorraine's heartstrings, like being like, "My daughters."
Yeah.
So they agree to go see it, and they just almost instantly realize they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because once they get to their house, it's so like clear that there is going wild, like haywire.
Yeah.
And the lecture that she had attended is like, you can tell clearly. I think they've even shown one before in the movie too. This is something they do. They go and they give lectures and teach people how to be these demonologists.
Yeah.
And Ed talks about there's 3 stages of possession. And so clearly this mom is like, well, this is what I'm going.
Yeah, she's like, this is it. Yeah.
So the first stage is there's the infestation. So that's where it gets in.
Yep.
The second stage is the oppression, where it basically starts to kind of like control you. Like control your life. And then the last stage before it really just shit hits the fan is possession.
Yeah.
So I think the mom is like,
oh shit.
We get a little bit of foreshadowing on the steps that we're about to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then Ed and Lorraine, once they come, clearly it's happening.
They know.
And then pretty soon Lorraine even mentions that when she came in, she saw this entity.
Yes.
And they kind of show a flashback of like what she in her mind saw, even though we as the audience couldn't see it, where it's this like dark shadow.
And it's latched
onto multiple family members. It's family. It's not just one person.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're like, okay, I feel like they're convinced. But in order to they realize the house needs an exorcism. It's the house that needs the exorcism. But in order to do that, they need proof. So now we get the setup. We're going to get the crew out there, get the cameras set up, they get the UV lights, get the trigger cameras.
The whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Because in order to do, and this is true, in order to do an actual exorcism, it has to be sanctioned by the Catholic, by the Catholic Church. And so, so they, in order to get the real priest, that's what they have to do.
Yes.
And it's kind of tricky because like their kids aren't baptized and they're not really members of the church, like actively. So, they know they have to like put the work into getting the proof.
Okay. Now I did look that up because I was so curious. I was like, wait, is that true? Like, do you need approval from the Vatican? And then do you have to be Catholic? I don't think that's true.
Okay.
So I think in terms of exorcisms, usually it's the bishop who would approve it.
Okay.
He would do the approval and then you get a priest who can go out. So I think like a priest who is experienced or has been trained would go out and do this. So you wouldn't need the Vatican to approve it. Okay. And then according to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, I tried to look up who can get one. And they have a few of them, but one of them is non-Christian believers, provided that they have proper disposition, meaning that they are sincere in their desire to do it. So I do think that was like, that they didn't need the full Vatican approval.
Okay. So the church's approval. But
So for our listeners, in case you didn't know this, which why would you have? Laura and I, we're sisters, first of all, but our dad is a priest. So he is an Episcopalian priest, which is different than Catholics. But I like to say Episcopalians are Catholic light.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I've asked our dad if he has ever like,
oh yeah,
not, I knew that he probably hadn't because I think I would have heard of that. Like, but if that was a part of his world, like his training, and it is like when he went to school for it, like it was a subject and was talked about, but it's apparently very, very, very rare for Episcopalian priests to do exorcisms. I'm not sure of like all the you know, boundaries they have to have with it, but like he said it's very, very rare. So
I feel like he's kind of mentioned that, you know, the training that he himself has had on is basically like if it gets to this point, don't do it.
Just
like
right.
not
right.
No, call the higher ups because this is not something you want to mess with.
Exactly.
No, I think my favorite is we like asked your dad to do a blessing of our house when we moved in. And so he has like the book that he was using to do blessings. And in it, there's a section on exorcisms, you know, on the table of contents. So he like showed it to us. And it's literally one line that's basically like, call someone else.
Yeah.
You need to call someone else.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Call the authorities.
I love that they were like, look, we need to include it. They're going to ask. Call someone else.
Yes.
Yep.
I know.
How to do an exorcism? Don't.
Just don't
do it.
I was slightly disappointed because that was really cool.
Yeah. Let me read the chat.
And then so from here it goes down pretty fast.
We learn
so fast.
Yeah, so we learn of Lorraine's vision and discovery. I think while they're waiting to get the approval from the Vatican, she like does some research.
Yeah.
And she learns about Bathsheba.
Yeah, Bathsheba.
Bathsheba? Yeah,
Bathsheba.
Which I think was her actual name.
It's a real person.
Yeah, like that's a real person. That's a real
That's a hell of a name.
Yeah, and so Bathsheba was this witch, and I forget.
I know.
I think she was persecuted. I think, but then she so people took her land from her because she was a witch.
Yeah.
But then she cursed the land and anyone who would try to take it from her. So she essentially just puts this curse on anyone who will, any family member or any person who's going to try to like be on this land after her.
But then there's like the maid who kills her son.
Yeah.
And it becomes about a mom killing the child.
So that's Bathsheba possessing the mom to kill the child.
So we've seen that was what happened with Rory.
Yeah. So we learn, the line that Lorraine ends up saying a lot is, you know, she possesses the mom to kill the child. And when she says she's meaning Bathsheba.
Okay. Got it.
Bathsheba, this witch, is possessing. That's a
like it possessed one woman and she killed her Sunday.
Yeah.
Baby, like so we see that's kind of what it is, and we're realizing very quickly that like, oh, they need to keep an eye on the mom.
Yeah.
And they had gone and stayed in a hotel, the family, but they realized very quickly that like the mom went and took two of the young kids back to the house.
Yes.
And this is when it's like blowing up. There's stuff at the Warrens' house that's going down. Their daughter is experiencing some issues.
Yeah.
So like it's that night, it gets very like,
it's like, here we go.
This is it.
Officially hit the fan.
Yeah.
The possession of the mom took hold and she is now not the loving mom.
Right. She's gone.
Gonna try to kill her kid.
Yeah. She is gone.
Yeah.
And that whole end scene is just so,
because it's funny, it happens so fast, but also there's so much that happens that it feels like it took a long time. So it's like this weird,
Oh, it's so much.
Yeah. So everyone gets to the house because they realize what's happening. So you know, the dad calls the Warrens get the cop, but everyone is there. And she brought two of the girls with her, which they managed to stop her from actively killing one of them.
Right.
And at this point, they're like, she needs the exorcism, but it's too late to call a priest.
Yeah, he won't get here in time.
We're just going to have Ed Warren is like, I've seen it enough times. I can do it myself. I do think technically he would not be able to. Based on what I
felt legally.
I mean, my question is like, is that more like the rules? Like, Is that more that he actually could do it,
Yeah.
but he's just not supposed to, and it wouldn't be sanctioned?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, would he actually be incapable of doing it if he's not trained?
No, I'm so curious. Because it's like, well, it's not sanctioned because, like, obviously, right?
Right, but could he still do it even without that and just be against the rules?
Right. I think their big thing is people who aren't sanctioned to do it because they aren't as trained. They run the risk of the demon or whatever it is taking possession of them.
Okay.
You know, whereas like I guess have maybe there's some sort of protection.
The other people know how to like keep it out.
Yeah. Which I do feel like is kind of part of I feel like that's why Ed didn't want Lorraine there.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a big part of it. It was like maybe he understood that was a risk.
Got it.
And he knew that there was already a close call and didn't want to risk that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. I do have the prayer that he says. So he calls it I don't know Latin, the Vade Retro Satana or something, which translates to "Get back, Satan."
Oh, nice. Get out of here, Satan!
Get out of
silly
here.
goose!
Get out of here! So the rough translation, I'll say what I have translated. I think it only translates the beginning of it. The rough translation is, "May the Holy Cross be my light. May the dragon never be my guide. Begone, Satan. Never tempt me with your vanities. What you offer me is evil. Drink the poison yourself."
Oh, damn! You tell him.
So
eloquent.
I think
that is eloquent.
That's part of the prayer that because I think he says it mostly in Latin.
I think it's almost
he ends it in English.
Yeah.
He was getting tired.
Get back, Satan!
Right, get out of here!
Get out of here!
Silly goose!
Go home, get.
Oh my gosh!
So good. And so then she the mom who's been possessed kind of gets quiet, but then her chair, so they restrain her to a chair, and then her chair starts to levitate, at which point I was like, oh, that's not good.
No.
So it starts to levitate, and then it like flips all the way upside down, and her chair is kind of it's almost like she's sitting normally, but instead of it being on the floor, it's on the ceiling.
Right.
And then he commands, Satan to let her go. So she falls down, but then she's free. The chair shatters. So then she's free. And then we learn, so the one daughter that she was actively trying to kill in the basement that they stopped her from, we knew where she was. But the little girl, April, she had been missing. Yeah. So the cute little assistant has been like frantically searching around the house trying to find her. And he finally does. She's like hidden in the floor. Like, I don't know. She's
I don't know that.
Wall,
well, I feel like we see earlier that there are like crawl spaces.
Yeah, there's lots of
inside the walls and little secret spots.
We learned about Rory's hiding
behind the wardrobe. Yeah, right.
Oh yeah. Okay, this is going to be a little disjointed, but because we should mention when the shit goes down, we find Rory's hiding space. Right. The little girl had gone in and then was like sleepwalking, and they got her out.
Yeah.
But then Lorraine went in to investigate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And
I don't know how we skipped over this.
We find Rory's hiding spot. She finds his little toys. She sees like, oh, this is where the little music Jack in the Box thing came from. And then she falls through the floor, like through the walls, like 3 freaking floors.
Yeah, at least 3 floors.
How is this woman's legs not broken?
She has like a little bit of blood.
Yeah, she has a cut on her head.
Cut on her just like a cute little cut.
Yeah, just like a cute little guy.
Yeah. So so there's clearly like
so like a lot has happened. It is happening, but that the assistant finds the little girl,
in the floor,
screams it out where she is. So possessed mom,
who's now free,
runs directly to her.
Like she just gets
she had some scissors.
Yeah.
Biggest scissors I've ever seen.
Yeah, me too.
Like metal shears.
It was almost like, like at the ribbon cutting ceremony where they've got like those giant scissors. Like those.
Yeah.
So she like makes a beeline for the passageways to go and kill the little girl.
Oh my god, yeah.
And at this point she looks different. Like,
she looks like her eyes
like the demon.
She looks
Yeah.
like Bathsheba.
Yeah,
not
she's
like-
been demonized.
Yeah.
So she's not really mom anymore at all, like in any sense.
No. But like we get little glimpse of mom fighting back, right? She keeps calling out like, "Oh, like Roger, help me!" Like we get very little glimpse that she is still there.
Yep.
She's there and
Yep.
she's in there. Yep.
So yeah, then that's the battle for her soul.
That yeah.
And there's this battle for her soul while there's also the Lorraine had this like cute moment with her daughter where there's, they each have a locket. And so Lorraine's locket had been taken by like the demon. And so while the possessed mom is being like exorcised by Lorraine and Ed, that's when shit is also going down at home.
Yeah, at their home,
Lorraine's daughter.
Lauren's home.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's all happening.
Yeah.
It's all happening.
So at the Warren's house, at Lorraine's house, the little girl, her locket that had been hanging by her bedside starts to like tick, like in a very unnatural way.
Yeah.
And then her leg gets tugged on. Because again,
so we all know what's happening.
Yep.
her feet aren't covered by the covers.
Yep. Don't sleep with your feet exposed.
That's how I
folks.
sleep.
And so
Don't do it.
she wakes up, she walks down like a hallway with we comment now on the wallpaper.
Yeah.
If that could make a comeback, I would be very happy because
I need that wallpaper.
I love that wallpaper. Like flower power was real.
It really was.
Well,
and alive.
It's like flower power in between like these like circusy candy canes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing.
It was very chaotic.
The whole style in this movie was so well done.
It was so
I
good.
Agreed.
It was so good.
Agreed.
But yeah, so Judy, the little girl, was being attacked. I guess that was earlier though.
Was that earlier?
Yeah, that was earlier.
Okay. It was. There's a lot happening, and we've had
they
some
saved her
wine.
and then they went.
Yeah.
Oh,
They saved her, and then that's when they call because the Warrens get there to let her out.
No, you're right.
So you guys, I always derail this podcast.
No,
it's
you're
okay.
right.
We've had some wine.
Yeah,
but
we have.
Oh, you know what? We'll take a break from it.
Oh,
and we'll talk about what we're sipping on tonight.
Okay, then we'll get back on track.
Yeah, right when the worst possible time to break is when we're
We're
going
gonna break
to.
right now.
Love it.
So we weren't sure what to drink tonight. We're over at Laura's, and we thought let's just make one ourselves.
Yeah.
So we found a whole bunch of drinks and conjured something up. Jane.
So I had found like a recipe that was not what we decided to make it all, but it inspired what we
Yes.
made. So I don't know what the actual the recipe was called something about like the Conjuring or something.
Yeah.
But it's not what we did.
It inspired what we made.
Instead, what we made was what should we call it? Just conjured?
Yeah, conjured. I like that.
We're gonna call it conjured. And so it is 3/4 ounces of spiced rum, 3 ounces of minimum 2 years expired ginger beer.
Because that's what we had.
That's what for us.
Do not get the fresh, minimum 2 years expired. A little splash of lime juice, and top it off with extra dry champagne.
Yeah.
Serve it over ice, stir it up.
Sounds terrible.
And it's the conjured.
It's okay. It's kind of like a mule, but with spiced rum, and I feel like it feels more like wintry.
Yeah,
I agree.
The spiced rum. It was actually good.
It was decent.
I enjoyed it.
I did too. So sip along with us on that bad boy.
Yeah, but now we've moved to wine.
No, but okay, here's where we're at.
Get us back on track, Brianna.
Everything wild is happening.
Yes.
The mom is now, we're at the precipice. The mom is like there to kill her daughter.
Yeah.
And they're just all around her and they know she's too far gone, but they're going to try anyways.
Yeah.
So they're like yelling all these things to remember about herself. Like they're trying to get her back.
There's like Ed on one end who I think is still trying to say prayers or something. You got Lorraine with a hole in the ceiling above her who's like grabbing her head.
Yes.
Trying to like remind her of the memories.
And of the beach day.
And then you have her husband who's also next to her but like behind this like rickety wall who's like grabbing onto their child being like, come back.
Mhm.
Like it is just they are trying their best.
Yep. And there you go. It works. It works.
The scene at the beach.
Yeah.
Yep. And just her love and her heart.
We talk about like that mom strength where like moms
Yeah.
can like lift up a whole car.
Right.
They're
Yep.
needing to protect their kid. I feel
That
like
was
it's
it.
that sort of
I think
situation.
so.
That was it.
And this is where I felt like the special effects were just so good. The way that the mom's face looked, it did not look
Yes.
fake,
Right.
Mhm.
but it looked so creepy and
Yeah,
otherworldly.
the makeup was
and
very
And like
good.
pained. Like
it was so good. I think that's a combo of makeup, special effects, acting. It was all
Mhm.
so good.
Yeah.
There's one thing we forgot to talk about
what?
in this possession when the mom is like
Mhm.
losing her shit.
Yeah.
First of all, I love how she's just like losing her shit, and so they just like put a blanket over it.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're just like, so we don't know what to do here. Just
Like, so we're just gonna cover you. It's fine.
this up for now.
But then when she's like starting to, I think, break free, or at some point there's a struggle, and she bites the dude's face.
Oh
The
yeah.
cop.
Oh
So
yes.
there's a cop that's part of the Warrens team,
Oh.
and he's the skeptic, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't believe in it, but then he ends up seeing a ghost, so then he's like converted.
Yeah.
But he's trying to help them, and she's at one point she just bites his cheek, like
And his
full on-
jawline, yeah.
full on like zombie style,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
like eats his flesh.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a real cute moment. I cannot imagine like how much that would freaking hurt. Like
Can you
The
imagine your
diseases.
I know.
face getting bitten off?
Yeah.
by a
'Cause
demon.
Human teeth are gross.
Yeah, human teeth are
Yeah.
bad news.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's free of the devil,
Yeah.
and they go outside because she couldn't leave the house without the witch, like
burning
burning
her
her
skin.
flesh.
Yeah.
And so she's able to leave the house. And at this moment, there's a car that pulls up with the other kids, and they come out, and everyone's hugging and crying.
Yeah.
And the Warrens are like, "Oh, we're so proud."
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl found the locket and
Yeah.
returned it to Lorraine.
Mm-hmm.
All is well.
That's it.
Yeah.
All is well.
We got a happy ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Except we do get like a little moment, which is Ed and Lorraine come home, and because they have their little, I mean, it's like a trophy room almost,
Yeah.
their
Yes.
collection.
Yeah.
No, that's a good way of
Yeah.
putting it. Yeah.
And the thing that he brought back was the music box.
Yep.
So he sets on a little counter, and then during the end credits, we hear the music, playing.
Mhm.
Dun, dun, dun.
Love.
So I do think in this final scene, I do think because they say it's based on a true story. I feel like multiple times.
Yeah.
They say it at the beginning, they say it at the end. I do not think there was a final exorcism
Okay.
in the actual
Okay.
family's story
Yeah.
from what
I
I saw online.
I have the full thing from the actual website if you would like to.
Oh no, then let's get the full
Yeah.
real story.
It's like their, what do they call it? A Patreon? Right? Like, is it like that? Like, you only get access if you pay to,
Oh
like,
yeah, no.
is that what we're
Is that
dealing
what
with?
you did?
Well, no, I didn't pay for the membership yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will say, so I'm on Nesper's website.
Oh, shit.
And you'll see, so what's really fun is that, and this might,
Oh, I get it.
Not
It's
sound great.
because that stands for something. I was like, why would they call it Nesper? Like
So,
a
like,
name.
if you go to their case files, look at their little, like, graphic.
Wait,
See this?
Yeah.
No, that's too cute. They're like actual little case
Yeah,
Yes.
little case files. So let's just read the case file of the parent.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
so that's what they're called.
Mhm.
Their real name is the Parents.
Mm-hmm.
And
And the parents' family or part of the family did actually like consult for the movie, right?
Yes.
Like so they approved the making
Yes.
of the movie
I
and
remember reading
consulted
that.
as part
Okay.
of it. Mhm.
Mhm.
so it's timeline 1971. They moved into this giant farmhouse, 14 rooms.
Oh my
14
gosh.
rooms. In the movie, they were sharing rooms.
I know.
That would be huge.
That's
And so in the real life story, one of the daughters was Carolyn.
Mm.
Or no, sorry. Carolyn is the mom, Roger. They're 5 daughters.
Okay.
oh, okay,
But-
yeah.
So I guess
Their names
that's
in
the
the
thing. Yeah.
movie,
So
yeah.
they all begin to notice strange things. So I love the difference though in what is actually the thing that happened and what the movie shows,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Or even which we'll get into later, what the Warrens purport to have happened.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
But it's things like Carolyn would notice that the broom went missing, or it seemed to move from one place to the other. All right, well, you live in a house with 5 girls.
Right.
Like, in rooms.
Like, how do you know who moves it?
But then they would hear things like the sound of scraping against the kettle when no one was there.
Mhm.
Or, worst of all, ladies, she would find small piles of dirt in the center of a newly cleaned kitchen floor.
Oh,
Well,
God. Crime.
Children would never do that.
Children would never.
They would
Criminal.
So the girls began to notice spirits around the house, but they felt, for the most part, they were harmless.
Uh-huh.
So, and as I said before, so this is from NESPR, the New England Society for Psychic Research.
Mm.
It was Ed and Lorraine's website. It is now still active. But it's called TonySpira.com. So Tony Spira is the son-in-law of Ed and Lorraine. So, you know the girl in the movie that we're talking about, Judy?
Yeah.
This is her husband.
Okay.
And he now runs the website,
And it's his name.
he runs the society, and it's his name, TonySpira.com.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so everything I'm reading is from this website.
Okay. Okay.
So the mom allegedly, the mom from the movie, researched the home, and she discovered that it had been in the same family for 8 generations where all these mysterious deaths happened.
So she researched it after they moved in or before? Soon after.
It's not specified. I'm guessing after.
I would guess after.
Yeah. So several of the children had drowned in a nearby creek.
Oh.
One was murdered. A few of them had hanged themselves in the attic. And the spirit that was the worst one from like the generations of family was the Bathsheba.
Okay.
And so Bathsheba is a real person.
Nice.
So she lived in the parents' property in the mid 1800s. She was rumored to have been a Satanist. And there was evidence that she had been involved in a neighbor's death, like the death of a neighbor's child, but she was never brought to trial for it.
Interesting.
And so the parents believed that she was the one that was tormenting them.
So did people also say she was a witch? Because I feel like they really stuck to
They said she was a Satanist.
So,
and the time of the 70s, like this was all like kind of like Satanist occult, rumors. And stuff.
Right, like the Manson camp and shit. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
So,
just wondering how guilty is she in real life? You know,
right. So the fact that they reported the rotting smell of flesh and that it was cold and they could feel like things like in the cellar. That's true. They all said that.
Oh, okay.
And so over the 10 years that the family lived in the house, the Warrens made multiple visits to try to investigate their haunting.
Over 10 years?
So the family did not move in, get quickly haunted, and then peace out.
Right.
Oh, okay.
They lived in the home for 10 years.
Damn.
At one point, there was a seance that Lorraine did trying to contact the spirits. But during the seance, the mom, Carolyn, she apparently got possessed and was speaking in tongues.
I see.
Okay.
Which I will say is a common thing that happens with Warren investigations. So one of the daughters apparently witnessed this and was like freaked out. Like, my mother was speaking in tongues. It's crazy.
It might be a little scary. Yeah.
But after the seance, the dad, Roger, he kicked the Warrens out because he was worried about his wife's mental health.
Okay.
Well, that's fair.
So he was like, no, you gotta go.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he was more like,
I don't know if this is helping.
Yeah, like this isn't helping, this is making it worse.
Right. Yeah.
And then the family continued to live in the house due to financial instability until finally in 1980, they were able to move out, at which point the spirits were silenced and the hauntings stopped.
Okay.
Oh.
So no one has been haunted in that house since.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it's still like a house. People.
That actually, I'm not sure, but
I would figure.
I would think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that is from TonySpiro.com.
Nice.
Interesting. A little different from the
A little
story
different.
we got in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So, interesting side note. When we were growing up, we moved to this house in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie the house reminded me very much of the Maine house.
I thought the same thing.
Yes. Right? Thank
Yes.
you. So we only lived in this house for like, 5 months or something?
Yeah.
Like it was wasn't
it was
even
very
a year.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah. But I know in my heart that house was haunted.
Oh, this house was haunted.
No, seriously.
Mhm.
Like the weirdest shit would happen.
Mhm.
I know it. Yes.
Oh, it was
this
haunted.
house was
Yeah.
haunted.
It was haunted.
And I'm not always one to like throw that out,
Mhm.
but it actually was.
Mhm.
But yes, it reminded me very much of this house.
And you know, like the weird, like how the daughters in this movie did weird things in their sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a weird thing in my sleep.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Only in the main house? I don't know if
Yeah.
Yeah.
not to our listeners.
Right.
Okay, so there were many things that happened in the house in Maine.
Mhm.
We had a crow that talked.
Yes.
And he lived in a barn and he like talked to somebody in the barn. Like it wasn't.
No, he
anything,
really
it was like
did. He, like, had a
He
conversation.
was like having conversations, but we don't know with who.
Interesting. Very Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes,
Number
absolutely,
one.
absolutely. Our dog was freaked out
Mhm.
by certain spots in the stairs. I did something weird in my sleep. So okay, it was a very, very old house, and that the rooms had skeleton keys.
Yes.
Oh, damn.
So you actually had to use like skeleton keys to get in and
Were
out.
they
to
different keys
them.
for every room?
I
Did you
know
have your own
There was a
personal-
few.
Yeah.
No, but there were.
Mine was-
I don't know how it was divided.
Oh, okay.
But there were a few.
My room, the key was unique.
Yeah.
It was the only one that
Interesting.
Yeah.
worked for my room.
Yeah, and some only worked downstairs and some upstairs.
They just like looked like the skeleton.
Yeah.
keys, right?
Yeah.
So since it was a really, really old house, the windows are very low because that was a thing in New England and just like old homes.
Mhm.
I don't know, just the way that they were designed.
Yeah.
The windows were super low.
Low windows. Okay.
So my bed was next to a window.
Mhm.
And one night, what, are you laughing at my story or something else?
Something else. Keep going. I'll get to it.
Okay.
Tell your story.
Well, now I want to know what you're laughing.
No, it's fine. Just tell your story.
Okay, so one night I woke up because I had to go to the bathroom. So I wake up, I go pee, and as I'm walking back, I see a trail of blood leading into my bedroom. And I'm like, what? So I follow it because I'm like going in my bedroom, and then I look and like my sheets are bloody. Like there's like, it looks like there's been a crime, and the window has been shattered.
What?
Turns out what I think happened is that I got possessed in my sleep.
Obviously.
And I like kicked through the window in my sleep. Because then I looked down.
It was really low.
Because it was really low. And I looked down and I realized my foot was all cut up. But I hadn't, it didn't wake me up.
Wake you.
And then when I went to the bathroom, I just like, I didn't think of it.
Right.
And so, then I started to realize, oh yeah, my foot hurts.
I'm insane.
But at the time, like I just see this trail of blood, and then like I think something happened. I think I battled the demon. Or a ghost.
Yeah, and for me, it was the stairs. So like there was a couple of times that several of us, and we hadn't like talked about it. And like one of them was my mom. Like you would walk up the stairs and you would hear like a very faint laughter. And that was weird enough. But for me, I was going down the stairs one day, and you know, if someone like runs by you when you're going down the stairs, you like run into the wall a little. Yeah. That happened. Mm-hmm. Like I like instantly like, and there was nothing there.
Yeah, the house was definitely haunted.
Oh, we totally
that was absolutely haunted.
I'm letting out.
So this has nothing to do with anything, but I've had some wine, so I can't stop laughing. But this is also the house of Laura's infamous story.
Oh.
Okay, so you have to understand Laura's the middle child, and she suffers from middle child syndrome.
Wait, give me the bottle of wine.
Okay, here you go. One day, as a family, we decide.
As a family, rude.
we decide to go get ice cream. So we all pile in the car and we like go to leave. Poor Laura, because her room was on the top floor, is like looking out the window.
So I was just like in my room, like cleaning my room. I look out and I see everyone get in the car and they drive away. And I was like, the hell? Where's everyone going? And they drove away. But then I see them put on the brakes and they drive back. We realized it really quick. And they're like, wait, Laura, do you want to come get ice cream? Help me. It's really great. Just a sad little Laura looking out the window. You know, in this movie, when they show the ghost who's like looking out judgingly, that's gonna be me.
Oh my God.
You fuckers.
I see it.
For leaving me, for not inviting me to
ice
get
cream without you.
Favorite story ever.
It's just great. Spooky Sippers, it explains a lot, right? Like, come on.
Oh shit. Yeah, so that's my favorite memory of my childhood.
That's amazing.
Wow. All right then.
When someone says, "What do you remember about your childhood?" It's that story.
that.
I know who I'm haunting. I'm just saying. I know who I'm gonna haunt.
Oh. All right. So anyway,
No, it's a good story now. It caused a lot of therapy.
You know, it's fine.
It's fine.
It all started.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Well, is now a good time to get into a little bit of psych?
I'm excited.
Yeah, let's
I'm so curious what you dove into.
I have to preface this with the mindset that I took going into this was because I watched the Netflix documentary miniseries called The Devil on Trial. So, have either of you
No.
seen it?
Mm-mm.
No.
So The Devil on Trial is the story. It's one of the case files that we saw from TonySpear.com.
Yeah.
Where a person who interacted with the Warrens claimed that the devil made him commit murder. It was not him. He was possessed.
Okay.
It kind of follows this story. It's getting all like a little bit jumbled in my brain now, but I think kind of it's that his nephew was this 11-year-old that was, possessed by a devil. I say in air quotes. The Warrens came to quote unquote help.
Yeah.
And then there was a possession that went wrong. The spirit jumped from the 11-year-old boy into the uncle or the family friend or somebody that was there. At which point, a little bit later, that person then killed someone.
Yeah.
And
Now, do you know if that's the story from the most recent Conjuring movie?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm so ready.
So we might need
look this up.
We might need to try to find that.
Because I haven't watched the documentary that you watched, but I have watched the most recent. Because then isn't the name of it The Conjuring? The Devil Made Me Do It.
I think it's called The Devil Made Me Do It.
Right? Okay, hold on. Let's look this up right now.
And so it's really interesting the way that this documentary goes and kind of their perspective on the Warrens.
Yeah.
So,
anyways,
yes, the documentary is the same story as the Conjuring movie.
The most recent one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So, that's gonna come
I hope so.
I think that sounds.
I hope it does.
I think it'll catch that.
I hope it does.
Squeaky. Okay, where the hell was I going with that?
Oh, psych. We were gonna. Are we in the psych segment?
We're just
started.
Yes, yeah, just started.
Oh, okay. So, unlike this movie, because it was based on real events, Laura is not a real doctor, but that's okay because in the movie they weren't real people.
Yeah,
right.
Or they at least were being played by not real people.
It was a dramatization.
Yes, a dramatization.
And that's what we're talking about.
And as we'll get into in my psych, it's debatable whether this is actually a true story.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm so excited.
I feel like we need to find like a jingle that we can like.
We should.
we
Like
should
when it's time to start.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that's where my mindset was because I watched this Devil on Trial and it there's members of the family. The one boy who claims he was possessed. He's now an older man.
Okay.
And he fully convinced, yes, he was possessed. This is why he was a bad kid. This is why there's pictures of him looking all sweaty and like people like it's basically like okay, it's like these pictures. Okay, I should like explain that.
Like, hang on, that's not a normal thing to have.
I wish like the visual things. Brandon and I just really looked at each other and described it. It's all sweaty.
Like my childhood sweaty photos.
I was
Hang on.
possessed.
That's
Okay.
not a thing.
He said sweaty, I was possessed.
Maybe he has like an adrenal disease. Like, what's happening?
Okay, so this kid, like, he was a bit troubled, and the family was convinced. He was convinced that he was possessed.
Okay.
He starts talking in this like demon voice, and he's calling his mom a effing C and blah blah. Like he's going off the rails,
Out of character,
and he's like throwing tantrums, getting all sweaty, and like flailing about.
And someone's taking photos of that.
Well, they're taking photos because they're taking photos as evidence that he is possessed.
Okay, all right,
that makes sense.
So he is convinced that it happened, but several other family members talk about all the coaching that they got as a family by the Warrens. This is what you do. This is what you say. We're going to come take pictures. We want it to look like blah,
I've
blah,
always
blah, blah,
wondered.
Yeah. I mean, that does make sense because I feel like when in my 5 seconds of research of, who gets an exorcism,
Right.
They do say step 1 is making sure that it's not like a mental illness problem or something else is going on in the house like that. That is step 1, and I feel like they do talk about that in the movie where the Warrens are like, okay, step 1 proof,
right?
So I could see that going in the direction of step 1 proof, and like this is kind of what we need to get.
Yes.
For the proof.
Very much so.
Yeah. So my psychology is all kind of just skepticism.
Love it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the field of parapsychology, which is the study of alleged psychic phenomena and other paranormal claims. Examples would be things like telepathy, telekinesis, ESP.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the field of parapsychology, which is not psychology.
Yeah. Right.
It's very different.
Parapsychology.
Right.
But one of the things in parapsychology is clairvoyance. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because that is what Lorraine claims to have. Is clairvoyance. So clairvoyance is when you perceive information about something that happens in the distance, and that could either be distant location or distant in time. So for Lorraine, it's like she sees, that she saw the person hanging in the tree, which happened in that place, but in a distant time.
I see.
Or she sees things happening with her daughter at the exact same time, but in a distant location. So that's kind of what clairvoyance is.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the actual Lorraine Warren had said that she could see auras around people.
Oh, it's like a dark aura would be,
Yep. And she says that this happened to her ever since she was around 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
And I did so much deep dive. It's like I have to cut and choose what I'm gonna say.
No, I'm so curious.
But that's part of why she and Ed Warren claim to have, fell in love and found this connection because they both have had this experience with, trauma and ghosts and things like that.
Right.
But clairvoyance it's one thing if you believe it, if you think that it's true. But if you take a more skepticism view of it, there's a lot of ways you can explain it away. So let's talk through those.
Yeah.
Through why you wouldn't believe this movie.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's not as fun.
No.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because the movie is them telling the story in the way that they want it. Right. You've seen, like the family is a Warren feel consulted in.
Yeah.
So I think we have to look at it from the skeptic.
So let's take a different perspective and then we can decide which one we want to go with. So a lot of times clairvoyance can be explained away by confirmation bias. So confirmation bias is the tendency you selectively pay attention to the things that are going to confirm your pre-existing belief.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you have, this is a stupid, simple example, you think you're going to have a bad day. You wake up in the morning, you think, I'm going to have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
You might go have a great cup of coffee, but then step in poo.
Mm-hmm.
And then go and have, a productive day at work, but then get in a fight. You're going to pay attention to the poo stepping and the fighting.
Yep.
And you're going to think, oh, I had a bad day.
Right.
Like, I knew I was going to have a bad day and I had a bad day. I was right.
Yep.
You forget about all the things that go against what you had decided.
Yeah.
So then there's also things like, just kind of like a confirmation bias, the expectancy bias, just the things that you are expecting to happen. You're going to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Also things like fraud. If people are frauding you, that can lead you to think that clairvoyance is real.
Yeah.
Hallucination, self-delusion.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, I found a really interesting article where it was talking about how our brains trick us. Mm-hmm. So, especially when it comes to clairvoyance, our brains can even trick us to misremembering how, like, the order of things, kind of like I did in this movie, actually.
Yeah.
So, you might have, I'm trying to think of a good example, but maybe you ran a stoplight on accident and then you felt worried, but your brain will trick you into thinking like, I knew something bad was going to happen. I had this bad feeling and then I ran the stoplight or something like that. So your brain can like totally swap the time of things and make you then think that clairvoyance has happened.
Yeah.
Because human brains are terrible.
Yeah.
Like
they're bad witnesses.
They're terrible at being accurate. They're not accurate at all. Another interesting term that I had never heard before is called sensory leakage, which sounds so gross.
I hate that.
Oh my God.
I hate it too.
Think about butts.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I hate all of that.
So this
is a leakage.
I can like explain it now.
But please try, because I need to know what that means.
Actually, sensory leakage is when information is transferred to a person by conventional means, not through clairvoyance. So, for example, you're going through hypnosis or something, and you think, oh yeah, when I was 5 years old, I was on the beach and it was a bright sunny day. Well, really what happened was the cloud moved out in the actual therapist room where you're in. Like the cloud moved out of the way and the room that you were actually in at that present moment got brighter.
I see.
Yeah.
So there's a real physical sensory thing that happens, but you perceive it as happening through this clairvoyance.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that can kind of lead to that.
Yeah.
Just also wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Or really I love how scientific articles make things so complicated.
Right.
Instead of just
saying
it. So the way that this phrases it is failure to appreciate the base rate of chance occurrences and not as paranormal power. AKA you don't realize that things just can happen by chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than it's like, oh, this happened because
it's this whole like
there's no coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people in general, we tend to seek patterns in order to tell coherent stories about potentially random things. So rather than it just being like, you have no control in life.
Yeah.
Nothing you do matters. Mm-hmm. It's all random. We want to seek patterns because that makes us feel safe.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
That makes us feel safe. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about clairvoyance. And now let's just a little bit talk about the couple, the Warrens.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And maybe some of their potential motivations or background.
Yeah.
So the Warrens got famous. Their first famous case was the Amityville horror.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's kind of what put them on the map. Okay. I think they founded their society. Oh shoot, I should have put this up. I think it was like 56 something is when they founded their Vesper Society.
Yeah.
56 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but the Amityville Horror is really what kind of got them famous.
Put them on the map.
Mhm.
And there's actually, so we could do a 5-hour long podcast just on this.
Yeah.
I know we're not really
Right, here we go.
Amityville.
Yep.
But the original horror that happened in the Amityville house, yes, it's confirmed it happened.
Mhm.
But the movie, The Amityville Horror, and the thing that the Warrens were involved in was the story of the Lutz's family haunting.
Okay.
That happened after they moved into the house where all the murders happened.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which maybe we don't get into too much because
Yeah,
we'll
because
do the
we have
Amityville
to
Horror.
watch them.
Yeah.
However, I will say there is a plethora of evidence to say that was all a hoax.
Oh,
The
interesting.
Lutzes were never
All
haunted.
right.
They were coached by the Warrens. It was not a thing.
Interesting.
The photographs were doctored. It's like, yeah,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
whole thing.
All right. We're going to save that for
Yeah.
its
We'll
own
save that one,
episode.
yeah.
Yep.
So, some possible motivations for the Warrens
Yeah.
would be, are they swindlers?
Mhm.
Are they just full of self-promotion? They're
Yeah.
self-promoters?
I guess, did they get paid?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because I was like, especially in the movie, like they made it clear that this family didn't have money.
Yeah.
That's why they couldn't move.
Yeah.
So like,
But they like moved in with them, it seemed. In the
exactly.
movie.
So like, how does that?
Okay, so I'll get there in just one second.
Okay.
So these are going to be my reasons to why I think they are fakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to talk about why I think maybe they're not. And then we can
okay.
decide.
Okay.
yeah.
So it could be that they're just trying to self-promote.
Mhm.
It could be that they're actually not these great of people. For example, I'm sad to say it. I don't want to make you guys sad. Ed Warren, possibly sexual predator.
Of course, I knew it.
He has been accused of a woman that said from the time she was 15, he groomed her, and they were involved in like a 50-year relationship.
Oh
or
my
something.
gosh.
50?
Yeah, like a really long relationship. But
Wild.
he says it started when she was 15,
Ooh.
and that his wife knew about it.
Ooh.
Yeah. So maybe, but that's all.
Yeah.
But still, you have to
Consider it.
Consider that.
Mhm.
So, as I said, they created the New England Society for Psychic Research, NESPR, TonySpear.com. In contrast to them, there was New England Skeptical Society, NES.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the critics of them who did a whole investigation. So again, I'm talking about why maybe we don't believe them.
They're like, we'll
Right.
take your investigation and we'll investigate it.
Yes.
So the NES, NESS,
Yeah.
after their thorough investigation, came to the conclusion of they're pleasant enough people, and this is a quote, but we're also, at best, tellers of meaningless ghost stories, and at worst, dangerous frauds.
That's quite a spectrum.
Strong words.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, like, they investigated, and they're basically like, there's no proof to anything they're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they're just telling ghost stories, or maybe they're just trying to fraud everyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, another thing is that they did run this occult museum out of their home, which I feel like just seems a
Yeah.
little shady.
Right.
That's weird.
Because like,
That's
here's the
strange
thing.
behavior.
I genuinely believe if you believed this, if the Warrens were actually like, this is real shit, they would have never allowed to have that in their home.
No.
Exactly.
No. I really I totally get keeping it, being
Right.
like, well, let's keep the demons, whatever, keep them here, lock them away in a safe place.
Yes.
That's not your house.
They
with a
wouldn't.
child
Exactly.
in it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Because I clearly am a bit more on the skeptical side, I went just a little bit hard on this perspective of it. So why do I think they were swindlers, frauds?
Yeah.
I think it kind of gets down to fame.
Yeah.
And their desire for it. So the type of person, why do people want fame? It typically comes from needing this validation and acceptance. A lot of times this comes from these deep-rooted insecurities.
Yeah.
It could also be about wanting power, wealth, or a way to just feel like you're contributing to society.
Yeah.
Because again, as I've said,
like your
everything
purpose.
is random and meaningless.
Yeah.
But like you like feel you maybe want fame so you can feel like you're doing something.
So that you, I mean, because
More than
we
you are.
do seek purpose.
Yeah, people want it. People,
Right.
No, for sure.
I mean, for example, my job, I'm never going to make a lot of money, but I feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether or not I
society,
am,
right.
it feels like I am, and that's kind of part of my motivation for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I do this podcast just for the fortune.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me
know.
too. Honestly, like that's the only reason I'm here is money.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, the fame and fortune.
Yeah.
Really. So, certain psychological predispositions. It sounds like you're peeing, not pouring wine.
Brianna isn't peeing. I'm just pouring wine from the box. We're at that point of the night where it's box wine time.
Oh, it is box of wine time of night.
Don't mind me.
So, certain psychological predispositions
Say
to
that 5 times.
to I know, right? To lead you to seek out fame against all costs, like even if it's gonna put people in jeopardy or harm, would be just having high ambition, this need for approval, and a fear of rejection.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of all these things sound really familiar when I think about Catholic guilt and things that happen in. I'm just saying they were very Catholic.
Right.
So it's also interesting too, because then when people do become famous, which the Warrens were super famous.
Right. I mean, we're
They
talking about them in
still are.
2023.
Yeah.
Like,
it's interesting to think about what their actual personality is. So sometimes people who are famous become so enmeshed in what their famous personality or persona, I should say, is that they become that, right?
Yeah.
So did the Warrens start this thing where they maybe kind of believed it, maybe like exaggerated it a bit, but then like became so enmeshed in their persona that they genuinely believed?
Yeah.
Or is it kind of like, you know, you're one way at work and one way when you're home.
Right.
And they're very compartmentalized, very separate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah.
So that's all my skeptic.
I love it.
I have a lot less points on could they be true?
Right.
Yeah.
So could they be true? One is the Amityville case provided a lot of skepticism, or invited a lot of skepticism, I should say.
Yeah.
So much so that then the Warrens volunteered to take a lie detector test about their time at the Amityville house.
Interesting.
They passed.
Well,
nice.
But that's, you know,
right.
I know at least two of us here listen to a lot of crime podcasts on top of this. And I think we know a lot of people can pass those.
You might even get into it, but like, I wonder if they got to a point where it was fake, but they did it for long enough and got enough validation that they actually started believing themselves that it was happening.
Yeah.
Because then you would pass the lie detector test because you believed it to be true.
Yeah.
You could pass it even if you believed it to be true because exactly what you just said, or you could pass it if you're so detached from reality or uncaring of what you're doing. You're just, this is my job. This is what I do. Like, sure. And you have no emotion about it because you're, if you're kind of so like sociopathic that you don't care.
Yeah.
So I'm trying because I'm such a skeptic. Ladies, I'm trying to provide.
I know.
Whether I believe it or not. Another one is that, now this is interesting. I wrote this, her sons claimed that Lorraine, but I thought she only had a daughter. Maybe it's her son-in-law. Someone a child who lived with Lorraine claimed that after some of these more horrific cases, I actually think about the one that the Conjuring is about, claimed that she genuinely was shook up and had ongoing nightmares, like out of the public eye. This was not announced, like claimed that she genuinely had
Yeah.
nightmares and was not right about
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it really is her son-in-law that is saying that, he's the one that's running the society. So
Right.
Source.
Grain of salt.
Yeah.
But to many people that were skeptics that interacted with them, they do say that it appeared that the Warrens truly believed themselves in what they were doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seemed to everyone that interacted with them, even if it was bullshit,
Right.
they believed that it wasn't.
Yeah.
They believed they were helping people. They thought they were doing the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So another point is that they did not charge for their investigations.
Interesting.
Which, when you think about, that would be a huge motivation to do it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So while they didn't charge for their investigations, they made a whole lot of money and fame on their books, on their lectures. They didn't make much museum off of their back door.
Oh, the museum.
Occult
right.
museum. But like their lectures and their books, they did get a lot.
But I wonder, like, for instance, the cop, like, why would he do this if he wasn't getting paid?
People are,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
People do really weird things.
Well, I don't. Maybe you could just. I mean, maybe there was an argument to the police station that was like, "Hey, people are getting hurt," so it's like, okay,
that's
fine.
true.
I guess we'll send an
I can see
officer
that
out because people are getting hurt.
Yep,
You know,
I can see that.
Yeah.
So then when you say like, why would people do this? So I was on this Nesper website for so long. So there's now this Nesper team.
Oh,
that they talk about, and I was reading and trying to find any sort of actual credentials for any person that's on an investigator. So there's Tony Spira, basically he's the son-in-law. There's Judy, the daughter.
Okay.
Oh,
this is where she talked about how she is also clairvoyant, but that she doesn't really use it much because her parents traumatized her.
Right. Are they still alive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not Ed and Lorraine. Ed and Lorraine are both deceased.
That makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, they'd be pretty old.
I don't know. Wasn't 1971
no.
was 30 years ago.
No, Ed.
And by that I mean it's actually 50, but it feels like it should be 30.
No, so Ed passed away in 2006, and then Lorraine passed away in 2019.
Weird. Because,
very recent.
You know, that feels like it should only be 30, not 50.
Yeah. Don't think about it too much. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Everything's fine.
But yeah, wait. Where did it just go?
You were talking about the credentials?
The team. I know the team. I don't know where it went. Oh yeah. So then there's all of these people that are like these like senior investigators and lead investigators. You guys. It looks like MySpace. Like, look at the pictures of all of these people.
Oh, that's absolutely
MySpace. Look at the quality. Wait till you get to the girl with the lipstick. Like, what?
Oh my gosh. Everyone go to Nesper.com or Tony Spira.
TonySpira.com.
I like the priest.
Then, you guys, you can become an insider. So when you click to learn more, well, here's the thing. Do you want the official payment? $3 a month? Yeah. So you can do an all access.
I want the VIP.
What does VIP get you?
You get early access, exclusive patron only updates, chat community, exclusive behind the scenes clips. Your
name will be in the credits.
Voting power, live stream.
Voting power.
What are you voting for?
Name and credits, personality or personalized thank you video.
Wow.
So anyway. With all of those facts, we can decide, do we feel like Lorraine and Ed were legit? Were they scammers?
I mean, I also think there's room for both.
Yes.
Like maybe some of it was real, and maybe they realized the success that could come from more of these stories being real. But the reality is you can't find that many people going through this. So, maybe there was a little more coaching with some of the cases and a little less real stuff happening.
I'm on the exact same page.
I wonder if it's almost, I'm choosing to believe that maybe they're good people.
Yes.
Who got caught up in the fame.
Agree.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really interesting either way because the skeptic in me thinks, oh my gosh, clearly they were full of it. They, did not know what they were doing.
Right.
They were just doing it for the fame. But then I also think if they really were scammers, we would know.
Right.
Like part of me is like kind of like it's like the reverse of seeking out the the ghosts. I'm thinking if it was real, there would be evidence
right.
that it was happening. Like there would be more than just in one case equal 50-50 those who say that they were legit and those who say they were not. I feel like there'd be like hard evidence that they were scamming if they were really scamming.
I agree.
Exactly. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm choosing to believe maybe there was a blend there.
I like that.
Maybe.
I agree.
So anyway, my psych is more of like a history and pondering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tonight.
I know it was very fitting.
I think we needed to go into it for this movie.
I agree.
I think we had to do that.
But you also have to watch that Double on Trial documentary. It's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I will be checking that out.
Yeah. Yep.
So is now a good time to talk about what was going on in history?
Yes, you guys. So I decided to look this up for us this time.
Now you did 1971, not 2013, right?
Right. I did. Oh yeah. So it is 1971.
Because that's when the events that occurred in the movie took place.
Because the movie came out in 2013, which was an amazing year because it's the year me and Jaden got married.
Oh wow.
But now let's talk about 1971.
So anyway, 1971. Okay. All right. So a lot of things happened, but I'm going to give us some context first.
Okay. Yeah.
So the average income in the U.S. was $10,600.
What?
That was the average income in 1971.
Fascinating.
Which I think really grounds us in what that year was.
Wow.
Okay. A few pivotal things happened. Disney World opened. 1971 was the year it opened.
Okay.
Apparently Walt Disney had started buying property in secret in 1965. And people were like, what's happening? And then Disney World opened in 1971. Southwest became an airline.
Okay.
So, I don't know, random, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
Starbucks opened their first store.
Oh, damn.
Yep.
I've been to the original Starbucks in Seattle.
Cool. Yes. And cigarette ads were banned this year. So they could no longer be advertised in television. Yeah, so I guess that was the year that happened. Right. So I have a couple of random ones about British facts. Margaret Thatcher ended free lunch for kids this year.
Wow.
So fuck you kids. It was I know.
You really said fuck them kids.
Okay, and here was one that I thought was the most interesting. Frank Zappa, the musician, was shoved off the stage by a concert goer who was mad at Frank Zappa because his girlfriend really liked him. So he was like, I'm going to just kill Frank Zappa so my girlfriend can't like him. It didn't work, but apparently Zappa's larynx was crushed, like his throat, the larynx, and he was wheelchair bound for over a year.
What?
And so his voice became much huskier and deeper, and you can note it in his music. Which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, so there you go. There's what was happening in 1971.
It's a different time.
It was a different time. I know.
Well, I had to look up what's the average income.
Oh, today.
Today. So it's 58,563.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the annual salary.
Okay. So. Yeah.
Interesting.
Huh.
So about 6 times more.
Yeah.
But inflation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We won't get on our soapbox for that.
Yeah, not yet. So there was a few giant things that happened that year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, Frank Zappa is the one that's throwing me the most.
I know.
Yeah, that is. I'm still thinking about that one.
So random, Yeah.
Well, should we get into our ratings?
Let's do
For
it.
this movie?
Yeah. I gotta think about this for a second. Okay, all right. Here's where I'm at. I love this movie. It's one of my just kidding.
Because Here on
Because we're on Spooky Sips. We don't give stars, we give sap.
There you go.
Yes.
So here's my sap.
What are saps?
So
There's a sap.
here it is for me. I love this movie. To me, if someone were to be like, I want to watch a scary movie, what would you recommend? This is one of them.
Mhm.
I love the use of jump scares because here's the thing. I actually like jump scares
too.
when they're done well.
Yes.
The graphics were done well. So I'm feeling like really high up for this one. So I might be at like a 4.5. The only thing that drags it down a little for me is I felt like there were moments between Ed and Lorraine that were so sappy and cheesy.
Yeah.
Like this music would come on.
Agreed.
And I was like, what are you doing? Why are you being like this all of a sudden? Like it didn't feel right to the flow of the movie.
There were a couple moments.
It was just
like
a
that.
little
I
too
agree.
much. So that's what brought it down. But yeah, I'm going to say 4.5.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
This one, I feel like this is definitely a top one for me. I completely agree. It's like, it is just this, when you think of a horror movie, it's definitely up there. Like, this is up there with Sinister.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
It's just
Yeah.
like a top horror movie. We did keep checking our heart rates during this movie, and mine was drastically higher. It was almost double my regular resting rate. So clearly I was having a reaction to this movie. So I'm right there with you. I was thinking 4.5 for this one.
Yeah. I think we're unanimous.
Yes,
I agree. My resting heart rate was almost double what it normally
wild.
is. I like the jump scares I love, but also just the production value is so good. I'm just super into this movie, and even though there's some cheesy parts, I get drawn into the story. I'm not like waiting for it to end. It's really freaking scary.
Yeah.
Like it's a really scary,
It is a scary movie.
It really
but also just the story and the music and the sounds, like it's all good. It's all good. It's a 4.5 for me. It's 4.5 cents.
Yeah.
Very solid.
Because for me, like, there's two types of scary movies. There's like ghost scary, and then like killer scary. So I usually divide my movies that way, and I feel like this one is like a topped ghost one.
Yeah, definitely top scary. If you don't like scary movies, don't watch it. Because this is absolutely like it. This is a horror movie.
Yes,
yeah. I guess one fun fact we didn't talk about is this movie's rated R.
Oh yeah,
and it's not rated R because there is graphic scenes or excessive blood or nudity or smoking or like anything like that. It is just pure horror.
Oh my gosh.
They were hoping for PG-13 rating, and they were like, there is nothing you can cut. This is too scary.
Cool.
So this is an R. So if you are not into that, this is probably not your movie.
I love that.
I love that. No, I agree. This is one that it will leave you scared the rest of the night.
Like, you're gonna need a palate cleanser.
You're gonna have to do I'm gonna have to do the thing where instead of just going into bed, I like run and jump onto my bed because I cannot leave my feet exposed.
Nope.
After this movie.
Agreed.
Watch an episode of Bob's Burgers. And then go to bed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next time on Spooky Sips, we are going to have a special guest with us, and we're going to watch Scream. Which, like, if you haven't seen Scream, what are you doing with your life?
Yes.
Go and see it. And so we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at spookysips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.